Well, now, he's known as one of Africa's young achievers, and London-based James Woods Nkuta Basa has again been recognized for his work to make a positive difference in African communities. He's just received the Malawi Achievers Rising Star Award. Well, James is heavily involved in global issues around wildlife protection, education, and bringing investors to the continent. He's also a highly sought-after advisor on issues concerning African development. Well, my colleague Richard Davies spoke to James a bit earlier and began by asking him what this latest award means to him.
I was nominated for the Malawi Achievers Awards, which is an award ceremony that takes place in the UK recognizing Malawian diaspora, so those outside the borders of Malawi who are contributing back to their home country and also the communities in which they're living in. So I was nominated in the Rising Star category for a young person who is driving forward socioeconomic development for their home nation and their community of Malawians as well. So that was just quite recent. It was an honor to be nominated. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it for the award ceremony. I was on the beach in Malawi, attending a festival with Rudimental in Malawi. So I got the phone call about midnight that James, you've won this award. So it was an absolute honor, something I did not expect.
That's pretty amazing, especially if you're on a beach when you're notified of winning that award. You've said that your life, you wanted to dedicate it to creating a better Africa, a better Malawi, and to be the voice that makes this a reality. How important is that to you?
I think it's extremely important because for many years we've spoken about this rising continent, a continent that is seen to be a location of many resources, of intelligent minds, but unfortunately where governance has failed the systems. So you look at that and you look at the people that are there on the continent who have all this opportunity at their fingertips, but it's misused by a few. So for me, it's about creating a society whereby we can recognize that potential, harness that potential, to actually be the driving force that we speak about, whether you read The Economist talking about Africa, whether you listen to the BBC or Arise News talking about Africa. So it's extremely important that if you look beyond that, Africa is set to have the youngest population in the world. By 2045, we're looking about over 200 million young people under the age of 25 will be in Africa. So if we don't harness that potential, then I think we're a continent that will be doomed. So to me, it's extremely important that we get these young Africans standing up, being counted. We get Africa at the forefront of anything positive taking place in the world, that we can look at Africa as being a shining star in terms of policy, shining star in terms of curbing corruption, a shining star in new technologies coming out. So I think that's extremely important for me.
You're obviously very passionate about Africa, and also you were named Africa's Changemaker of the Year in 2015. What are some of the significant steps that you've seen Africa take in the past couple of years?
Well, first of all, being named the Africa Changemaker of the Year was an absolute honor, particularly when you're named alongside individuals such as the former President of Tanzania, Jakaya Kikwete, Lamine Zuma, chairperson of the African Union. So to be in that category was an honor. But that award is actually to all Africans. It's not just to myself. But what I've actually seen what Africa is doing is right now I'm seeing more people who have more of a voice, I'll say a political voice, who are trying to hold their governments accountable. And we have to remember that within Africa, or most countries around the world, is that the final buck stops with politicians. They're the ones who make the decisions. But if you don't hold them accountable, then things fall apart. And what I've seen within Africa is that a lot of people are starting to hold their people accountable. It's becoming more democratic. People wanting more, they want more transparency. So that is one of the things I've seen. It's still got a long way to go. But also, I think the entrepreneurial mindset where people do not just rely on somebody to hand stuff over to them, not just relying on the donor community. There's individuals going out there and trying to actually create new systems. So we become more of go-getters, people who believe we can actually do that change. So we become a continent of change makers.
And you travel a lot. You travel pretty much every month, backwards and forwards, from London to Africa. What drives you to keep doing this?
Well, I think that the passion is still in me. I'm based in London. I think London is an amazing hub to be. It's a great place for business. I think nobody can refute that. But most of that business is actually going towards Africa as being the last frontier, as people call. So going to Africa for myself, for the past 2 to 3 years, I've been traveling every single month, be it Malawi, Mozambique, South Africa, Kenya. And it's actually, when I go there, it's seeing the change we can deliver on the ground. And that change is a change that impacts lives. So it's not about whether I get a good paycheck by the end of it. It's actually who do I impact? Who can actually lift on my shoulder, and who can they lift on their shoulder? So that trend continues. So we see this onward growth. So it's I think that's the main thing, to put the right mechanisms in place. So you're leading the way, and other people are following, and hopefully they'll overtake you and do exactly what you're doing, even better.
You're working on a number of different projects and have been for some time, including wildlife projects. What are you working on now? What's coming up for you?
Well, wildlife is still a very big issue of concern to me, particularly the illegal poaching, particularly on ivory. So we've worked heavily, with the team, we've worked heavily on that in trying to get ivory burnt in Malawi and Kenya. So that's still ongoing. We've had some success in that. But also, right now, within Malawi, which is my home country, and in the neighboring countries, there's a famine that is occurring. Malawi, about 8 million people are facing hunger. Reported, it's about 3 million, but officially, if you speak within government officials, they'll give you the exact figures of 8 million. So what we're working on right now is actually trying to get maize to Malawi. So we've teamed up with a UK-based company in hope of actually supplying maize to Malawi and neighboring countries at a very affordable rate. Not a rate to make profits or whatsoever, but it's actually, we're putting it on a cost where the companies will deliver it to the borders with no profits made. But now it's also, now the dynamic now from there is the political interest of individuals, because most people want to make money. So, which is one of the challenges we're facing, but we're working heavily on that. But beyond that, there's other sectors we're working within in terms of health sector, in terms of education, trying to bring different philanthropists to work on these initiatives. And I'm just rather fortunate to be one of the people championing these initiatives. I may not have the money, but I may have the right contacts to do it.
As you're watching